Welcome to Virtual Lunch. I'm your host, Marlis Arnold, and it's so good to have you here, whether you're joining us live on any of our multiple platforms or if you're watching the replay. It's always good to have you here. I know a lot of people have to catch the replay later because you can't necessarily be available at the right time, especially these days with so many things going on. But welcome. Please go ahead, and if you're here with us live, go ahead and type your name and introduce yourself in the comments and tell us where you're joining in from. And you'll also want to make sure that you comment today because we are going to have a special giveaway here in just a little bit. So I want to make sure that you get a chance, and you don't have to put anything special in the comments in order to enter. Everybody who types a comment on any of the platforms will be in the drawing. So but again, that's obviously only if you're here live. If you're watching the replay, sorry about that. But anyway, let's go ahead. I see we've already got a comment. Eric Reynolds. Hey, Eric, great to have you here joining in from Idaho. So good to have you on the show today. All right. So I want to, as always, Alan is here behind the scenes helping us out with some links. So we are going to share some kind of inspiration ideas, some things that you could do maybe for your own events. And then I want to also give you a few little news bites. But our first link is that Sephora. So for you guys, you may not know, Sephora is a makeup store. They recently opened a branch in Kohl's, like a section within Kohl's stores. So they had a big splashy opening for that. And so it was really creative. They did it in a parking lot out in front of a Kohl's store. And they called it an amazing adventure. And so they had a maze within the display area. And so it was all contactless. So people could use their devices. So think about doing this in your booth. So they used their devices and they could scan QR codes. There were, I think, 8 different stations that they had to check out. And if they completed all of the scavenger hunt, then they got to go inside the store and spin the prize wheel to win. So that was a great interactive thing. Of course, they also had some selfie stations and other things that they had available. But on this link, they actually have a little video that you can kind of see a little bit of how it all worked and get a little bit more of the behind the scenes. So that's an idea. Also, I wanted to share, and I see Ray Bear is here. Hi, Ray. Welcome. And also want to share that Abba. Now, I'm not a big Abba fan, but although I have seen Mamma Mia. But if whether or not you're an Abba fan, this is really interesting. They are getting ready to do a virtual concert. And the way they're doing it is really interesting. If you've heard anything about the Metaverse and kind of, not real clear on what that is, this is a Metaverse kind of thing. But they're doing a physical concert, but they're doing it with digital avatars. And it's really intriguing. So I've got a couple of links for you on this one. This is the article that tells about what they're doing and how they're doing it. But they've actually got a physical venue. They're going to do the concerts in London, but they've done it's, and it's really elaborate. They've done the actual singers put on all these, suits, and they did the I don't know what all the technical terms are, but the little dots on all the suits so it can motion track them. And then they have made their avatars look like they did like 30 years ago. So the avatars will be on the stage doing the concert. I haven't quite wrapped my head around this completely yet. But anyway, so then this is a video that you can watch that shows you a little bit more about how they're actually putting it all together. But the whole idea is the potential of what can be done with this, the idea of taking, mixing the virtual and the physical realms. It's just really interesting, I think. We also have another link related to this in just a second. And Eric says the Abba tour is going to be a really big deal. Yeah, I wasn't really clear yet if it's going to be an actual tour because it is so intensive. It sounded like from what I read that it's going to be, mainly just this one location in London. They're going to do the presentations all from there, but the concerts from there. But anyway, we'll see. Anyway, it's going to be fascinating to watch. But like I said, the whole idea of the metaverse, if you haven't wrapped your head around it, it's the idea of kind of like a lot of the sci-fi movies where it's bringing the two worlds together, where you can participate in a virtual event, but it feels more real. And Eric says the first show is experimental. Yeah, well, definitely it's experimental, but I think it's going to be just incredibly cool. So, but there's another link that I want to share with you. The Event Tech podcast did an episode all about the metaverse for events and how it can work. So, and again, this is kind of, slightly out there. As we've known over the last couple of years, things can advance really, really quickly. So, just kind of start getting prepared and begin wrapping your head around how this is all going to work. But it's just, it's pretty cool. That's all I'm going to say. It's just pretty cool. Eric says that Burning Man is also doing Metaverse. Yeah, I think, Burning Man, South by Southwest, probably a lot of those kinds of, innovative on the edge kind of events are going to be the first ones to cross into this realm. But I'm just thinking about, the amazing ways of how you can bring events to a wider audience by being able to do this. So anyway, so just keep all that in mind as we go forward. All right, couple other news-related links, industry news-related links that I want to go over real quick. And then we're going to have a special guest before our special guest. We've got Ramah Beerfus is going to be here. For those of you that attended Spark earlier this summer, we had several sponsors, and Ramah from Lev Promotions was one of our sponsors. So we're going to do a little sponsor follow-up and kind of tell you some of the things that she's got going on and things you need to be aware of. But we're also doing, I mentioned earlier, we're having a giveaway. This is the Spark Nightlight charger that Ramah provided for us. So we're going to do a giveaway. So be sure and comment if you haven't yet. Just leave a comment. Just say hi if you want to, and you'll get in the drawing for that in just a minute. Lee was asking about, is this broadcast on just LinkedIn? No, this is being broadcast on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. So if you're in LinkedIn, you're only going to see the LinkedIn comments, but I'm able to see comments coming in. And so far, I don't think, I guess Eric's on Facebook. So we've got people on different platforms. So I'm able to put them all up on screen. By the way, I'm using StreamYard. So for those of you who haven't had an opportunity to join us before, StreamYard is a really cool tool that you can simulcast basically out to all the various platforms. So, I can get you more information. I also have a referral link I can get to you so you can get a discount if you're interested in that. So just contact me later. All right. So a couple of quick news links. We've got 12 major changes coming to events. So this was an interesting list about all different kinds of things. So unique formats, evolving vendor relationships, tangible takeaways, lots of different ideas. So here's the link for that. Oh, and by the way, if you're watching in LinkedIn, obviously these links are popping up. If you're watching in YouTube, all the links are already there if you just click the see more button. And Facebook, I'll add these links later. So that's one of the downsides of multi-streaming is you can't be in all platforms as the host. So anyway, so there is that link. All right. And then our last link before I bring Ramah on for a quick minute is CEIR, the Center for Exhibition Industry Research, has a new study that they've been doing on virtual event trends. So you'll definitely want to check that out. So here is the link for that. This is actually the article on TSNN. In that article is a link that you can click over to CEIR to access those reports. And I believe that all of them are free because it was done by Swapcard. So anyway, you'll definitely want to go check that out so that you can be on the cutting edge of what those trends are. All right, so I think we are ready to bring on our first guest. So I'm going to pop up, let's first here, get rid of this ticker so it's not quite so distracting. I'm going to bring on Ramah Beerfus from Lev Promotions. Ramah, hi.
How you doing?
Good. Thanks for being part of Virtual Lunch today.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to pop in when I can.
I know. You join us in the background as an audience member often, but it's fun to have you on camera. So tell us a little bit. I know you've got some fun things coming up. You're going to be exhibiting at Exhibitor Live next month. Yep. So tell us just a quick teaser about what's going to be coming up for that.
Well, I am exhibiting at Exhibitor Live. I'm going to be in booth 854. For those of you who don't know, my company is Lev Promotions, and we handle promotional products for our clients. And we do specialize in working with trade show, face-to-face marketing, event planning people, because that's kind of where my passion is, and I'm the owner of the company, so I get to decide where to direct the business. So Exhibitor Live is a perfect spot for me to be able to kind of explain to people our approach to promotional products, which is helping our clients create strategic memorability. So it's not just about throwing stuff out at people. It's about choosing and distributing promotional products so they really create an impact and a connection with the recipients. So I invite you to come by my booth if you're coming to Exhibitor Live. Again, it's booth 854. And I will be doing a presentation on Wednesday, November 3rd. So that's the last day of the show.
Wow.
It's the first slot in the morning, so it's either 8 or 8:30 in the morning. And it is about how to use promotional products to create strategic memorability, specifically geared for trade shows and events.
Yeah.
So if you're coming to the show, sign up, and you can go
and
to my
this is
website.
The link that you're seeing on the screen is the link to go see more about what Rama has coming up and get, I think there's a link on there where they can get a free ticket to the expo, correct?
Correct. You can go to my website and get more information about my presentation. You can click the link and get a free show floor pass, or register in full so that you can register for classes as well. So definitely a show to attend if you can. And I know it's a little, I'm not convinced I really want to go yet at this point, but I really want to go.
I know. It's challenging at this point. So
it is.
We do have a couple other quick links that Alan is going to put up for you. One is your themed stores.
Correct.
And then also you have the ability so people can order custom cards, which I think is a very cool thing. And I just want you, I know we've mentioned this before, but just please reinforce again about the timeline.
Okay. Whatever you're seeing at retail right now with shortages and in both product and staffing and extended timelines and extended shipping times, shipping costs are going up. Even USPS is going up effective this month. If you want to have holiday business gifts for your clients, for your employees, for your referral sources, for your next door neighbors, I don't care. You need to place the order basically now. Because if you don't, the chances are that the longer you wait, the first choice items that you want may not be there. They may already not be there, quite frankly. I already have had clients that 2 months ago were having to go with third and fourth options because the ability was just not there either from inventory or timeline. So think about what you want, get your orders placed. We can arrange to make sure that they don't ship tomorrow, even though you place your order tomorrow. We can still arrange to make sure that they get there in time for whether you want to do it for Thanksgiving, which is what we recommend, in which case you really need to get going. Or if you want to do it for more towards the Christmas season, place your order now. They can be shipped later. But if you wait till later, you may have nothing to ship until into the first quarter.
Yeah, I was going to say, you could ship them for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, and
maybe.
Exactly. And we're finding that, and right now FedEx is kind of the bigger criminal of the two, but UPS is also having some issues in certain areas. Something that should be arriving ground in 4 days is taking a week and a half. Something that should be going 2 days is taking a week and a half.
Yeah.
So
I've been on the receiving end of some of that. So
it's crazy. I sent something to my daughter in Anaheim, which is 90 miles from me, and it took, I think it was 7 days for her to get it. Wow. I could have walked there faster than that. And
yeah, exactly.
So
I'm going to go
take all these things into account.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. And just like Rama says, do it now because you don't want to have regrets later. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up our drawing. So it takes me just a second here to switch screens. All right, there we go. So I am going to, let's take the banner down. All right. So we've got only 4 people got entered in the drawing here. So we're going to run the drawing. And if Alan wins, we'll draw again.
I was going to say. The fix is in.
Oh, it's really making us in suspense. Oh, Ray Bear is our winner. Ray, you win a Spark Nightlight. All right. Bet you didn't expect that when you came today, right? Okay, so let's see. So now I will close that screen. Ramah, thank you again so much for being here on Virtual
It is always my pleasure, Marlis. Thanks for having me. If anyone needs me, my contact information is up on my website, and Alan has kindly put up those links. So reach out, touch someone, and we'll get it done for you.
All right. Oh, and Ray says, oh, cool. She's so excited. So
good.
Thank you, Ramah.
Ray. Bye.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody, for playing along and contributing your comments and participating. It's always fun to be able to give something away to my fans and followers. So without further ado, I want to bring on our guest today, who's been so patiently waiting behind the scenes. So I'm going to bring her on screen and give her just a quick introduction. Amanda Kaiser is an engagement specialist and qualitative researcher for associations and member organizations. 33 research studies have given her a unique insight into the hearts and minds of attendees and members. Earlier this year, Amanda teamed up with Matchbox Virtual Media to produce the Virtual Networking Incubator. The Incubator was 1 part lab, 1 part testing ground, and 1 part problem-solving event. Over 150 meeting and association leaders, including myself, collaborated with the goal of determining if virtual networking events could be meaningful, helpful, and fun. Today, we're going to dive in and share some of those tested strategies directly from the 2-month-long, 6-session virtual networking incubator that you can implement for your events today. So, Amanda, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Marlis. It's really great to be here. And you are one of the first people I'm talking to about the results from the incubator. We pulled together all of the data and we wrote a final report, if you will. And so I'm super excited to bring all of that data and new findings to you today.
Well, and Alan is actually going to share that link. And for those who are listening to this on the podcast, you'll find the link for this in the show notes. But we've got the link so that people can go and download that report, because it really, I mean, you guys went so in depth on breaking down all of the different things. But let's back up a little bit first. Tell us how the Virtual Networking Incubator came to be and how you pulled all this together, because I know this was a massive amount of work behind the scenes.
Yeah. So this was definitely a labor of love and something that we had been thinking about for a long time. So if you go way back to the beginning of COVID, tons of events, sort of, event hosts, they scrambled to get everything that was in person online. And as a sort of speaker and a host, I got a chance to be a part of a lot of events. And one of the things that I noticed was that virtual events kind of delivered just one of the 2 conference and event promises. So, a lot of value, especially in association conferences, are around education and networking. Mm-hmm. And when we went to virtual, most of the value was just around education and we lost the networking part of it. And I was really worried about that. And I kept mulling it over and thinking about it. And I started talking to Ariana Riak, who's the CEO at Matchbox Virtual Media. And she agreed that there was a problem there. And together we just kind of kept coming back to it. And one day I thought, oh, would it be interesting to do like a tech incubator around this? And the more we got talking about it, the more we decided we wanted to do it together. And we wanted to make it more than just a tech incubator. We wanted it to be a problem-solving event. So, it ended up being 6 sessions with 150 people. And it was an interesting thing to do for me, because I tend to write, spend months and write keynotes and get everything perfect. And the incubator had me as a host in this position of coming up with new content and new curriculum every 2 weeks, and sort of, looking at what we did the last time and trying to figure out how to make the next time better. So it was really interesting from a host perspective.
I know it definitely was on the fly, feed the beast kind of thing. I know how that's kind of like virtual lunch.
Yes. Yeah.
But so you constructed these 6 different sessions, and we did different things each time. So sometimes it was small groups, sometimes it was one-on-one networking. So tell us a little bit about some of the things that you learned. And I know that the lessons that were learned not only apply to virtual networking. I mean, a lot of these things can be applied for face-to-face networking as well. So let's kind of break it down a little bit and talk about what were some of the key points that came out of this incubator.
Yeah, so I'm glad you mentioned Inperson because we found out that while everybody's sort of remembering Inperson very, very fondly, in-person networking events are kind of broken too. So there's an interesting stat that popped out of the incubator, and that was when everybody was applying, we actually had folks go through an application process. And one of the questions we asked was, how do you feel about in-person networking events? And we listed all kinds of emotions. And one of those sets of emotions was anxiety and concern. So when speaking about in-person networking events, 58% of our respondents noted anxiety and concern. We also asked that same set of question after every single one of our 6 gatherings. What events or what feelings for you are coming up after this gathering? And when we averaged all of those for every single one of the gatherings, we were at 16%. So
Wow.
in-person events, so 58% noted anxiety and concern at in-person events. And for our virtual networking events, 16% noted anxiety and concern. So that's really interesting, right?
That's incredible.
I think what I hear a lot out there is there's sort of this commonly held myth that that virtual networking can't be meaningful, it can't be fun, it can't be comfortable. And I think one of the big learnings for me was, yeah, you know what? Virtual can be meaningful, fun, and interesting, and all of those things that we don't expect it to. And we can figure out why that is, and then pull that into the in-person scenario as well.
Well, and I think a big part of that is that the virtual on one level is more comfortable because you don't have this feeling of, like walking into a big room of people and not knowing, who to walk up to.
That's right.
I know I've had that conversation with other people just recently. I was talking to somebody about that. It's like everybody so fondly remembers the in-person networking, but it's like, remember that feeling of walking in and everybody's at their own little clusters and what do you do?
That's right.
And so the virtual networking, you guys had different kinds of exercises for us to do and tech for us to explore. I mean, we had the, and I forget what the term is, but the wander around and bump into people.
Right.
Yeah. What do you call that officially?
Yeah. So that was sort of like autonomous movement. We were exploring autonomous movement, which is probably the most reception like of all of our platforms, right? So you could do that. We did gather round was sort of our one-on-one. We had very deep conversations on a platform called Circles. We played with, so one of the things that people worry about with virtual networking is, how do you do it at scale? How do you do it with 50 people or 200 people or 500 people? So we played with a platform called the Circles can do that. They can scale large, but there's also another platform called Pickles. And that's a way to sort of like feel the whole community and see what the whole community is thinking and connecting with the whole community. So we were definitely a tech incubator in that we were playing with some of the latest and greatest brand new platforms that just kind of came onto the scene. But the other thing that we did is we exposed people, and I shouldn't say expose people. I was literally experimenting. We were experimenting with Matchbox to try all kinds of activities and methods, and just trying to see, what stuck and what didn't stick. And so it was, I would say if you thought about like how we were dividing our mind space, it was one half technology and the other half was all around the activities and methodologies and stuff like that. And we also kind of sort of stepped through where we started the incubator, exposing people to what exists today. And then at the end of the incubator, we really started to do a lot of more like hackathon style. We started really
Yeah.
problem solving, and the whole group of 100 people, 50 people, were coming up with all of these ideas on their own, which was pretty fantastic to see.
Well, and I really love that aspect of it. I mean, the experimenting with the tech. I mean, I was introduced to a lot of new tech that I wasn't familiar with. I mean, some of it I was, because I'm like you, I play around with all this stuff all the time.
Yeah.
But learning the tech was one thing, but the aha moments were really, the hackathon part. And so the other thing I loved what you guys did, you had the recaps that you sent out every time afterwards. You collected like all of our comments and all of our suggestions or thoughts and put them together and then shared with everybody afterwards. And it made it so much easier to I guess I would say take it all in and process it all, because I mean, when it's happening, it was like everything was flying so fast. And I know I tried to take notes each week, but it was just impossible to keep up with all the ideas because everything was flying so fast.
Yeah.
So you actually took a lot of those ideas and put together a cookbook. Since it was the Matchbox Kitchen, I love that you did a cookbook of ideas. So tell us a little bit more about all that and how you pulled together all these different ideas and practical applications.
I'm so glad that you mentioned the sort of after every gathering, we sent out a report of the chat, but we call it the chat and more because there was more stuff that we were able to send out. And that was actually an invention after the first gathering. So we got into the first gathering, and one of the things that we saw in the chat was people were saying, "Oh my gosh, there's so much great stuff here, and I can't take notes fast enough, and I'm torn between listening to Amanda and chatting with everybody and taking notes, and it's making me crazy, and I want to do it all." And so we thought a lot about how to handle this, because on one hand, one of our biggest objectives was making a really safe space. We wanted it to be a very open, safe space where everybody could support each other. But more than that, if you had an idea, but it wasn't quite fully formed and fully polished, we wanted you to feel like you could shout that idea out to everybody without any backlash, which meant we didn't really want people downloading the chat for themselves. We would be happy to provide it, but anonymize it later on. And so, as we're thinking about, okay, we want to create a safe space. We want people not to feel the pressure of taking notes. We want people to participate, which means, being really involved and present in the moment. How do we solve that problem? And so right after the first gathering, we committed to doing those after the gathering reports, and we did it every single time. And that was, I'm glad you liked it, because we got some really good feedback for that.
Yeah. And I thought that kind of brought everything together. So it wasn't just, and especially if you happen to miss one, like I missed one of the ones in the middle. And so being able to have that recap really helped to bring everything together. And it's just a wealth of material. I know I still need to go back and review the notes again and kind of pull out some of the highlights. But what were some of the biggest highlights, maybe the top 2 or 3 things that you think came out of the incubator of like great ideas for, implementing at future events?
Yeah. So I think a couple of ideas, sort of rapid fire here, because there's so much, and I really encourage you to read the roundup report. So I think one of the things that we can't underestimate is how awkward networking can be for a lot of people.
Yes.
In fact, we did some activities around, and mostly our group was extroverts. Most of them were meeting planners. They're mostly extroverts. They mostly love networking, and even among our group, networking is sort of fraught. And in the word, just even the word networking makes people feel inadequate and anxious and scared and lonely and, all of those things. So I think we can't underestimate, how emotions are wrapped up with the whole idea of networking or reception. So that's one thing to consider. Another thing to consider is one of the reasons why our version of online networking worked in most cases, and we did have some stumbling, but when it worked because there was a lot of structure and a lot of activities. People walked in, and there were ways for them to connect with each other, and we helped them kind of skip the small talk and get right into the meat of the conversation and collaborate and think together and work together and support each other,
Right.
Without having that. And you just talked about this, Marlis, and early on, that pain of walking into a room and seeing everybody all clumped up and trying to figure out, can I sidle on into that conversation, and would it be too weird, or do I just stand back here and watch everybody, which feels really awkward, right? So I think another thing that for us was, pack more structure into every networking event, because it helps people collaborate and connect a lot faster than if they had to do it on their own. So the free-for-all networking, very, very hard unless you've got a cohesive group that already knows each other.
Right.
And they want to do the free-for-all networking. But for everybody else, add structure, add a curriculum, add activities, get them working together. So that's a couple of the things. Oh, can I also talk about priming for participation? Because that's a pretty cool one.
That was actually my next question. So
awesome, awesome, perfect. We're reading each other's minds. We're melding in the metaverse. Okay, so priming for participation. One of the things that that I've been playing with, both in the incubator and also in my own speaking, is figuring out how to get people not to, when they're at home, right? You can multitask, you can do a million different things. And so how to get them to connect in and participate and really engage with what they're doing. And so one of the things that we played a lot with were these unofficial starts. And I got this idea from the CEO at Playmeo. So do these unofficial starts where you're inviting people in a couple of minutes before your official start time and have an event or have an activity. So you're rewarding the early birds, and then the people who typically sign on late, find out that you did this early bird activity and they want to do it the next time. And so it's sort of rewarding people for coming on early and also showing other people why it's important to log on at the right time. So unofficial starts is one way to sort of prime people for participation. We did a lot of that in the incubator. It was super fun.
Well, it was. I didn't get in on all of those, but I did. And the ones that I did, they were really fun. And I love the idea, like you said, it gives you something rather than just, you hop on a minute or two early and you're just listening to music while it says, wait for your host to arrive or what. Yep. I mean, it was much more engaging and interactive. And I thought that was just really great. But there were so many creative things that you guys did. It was just, it was, I know it was so much work, but it was so well received. And I made so many new connections. Okay. And I think that was probably true across the board from your post-event surveys, that people made a lot of good. And it was, I realized in this case, it was that, like you said, we were all meeting planners and event professionals. And so we had that baseline connection anyway, but just to be able to meet people from just very, very diverse backgrounds, it was just a great way to have that experience. And I know you've got another incubator coming up. You want to give us a little bit of a teaser about that?
Yeah. So we thought that the virtual networking incubator was so successful, we wanted to continue on with that model of continuing to host problem-solving events. And so Ariana, Anna, and I put our heads together and we polled the past incubator participants to see what topics were of most interest to them. And the topic that rose to the top was sponsor value. So we are heads down, 100% working on the next sponsor value incubator. So we're super excited about that. And we're thinking about 4 sessions of, really sort of experimenting with a bunch of stuff, exploring, how they worked, and then leaping off from there into the whole design and innovation to see if we can come up with some new ideas. So we're very excited about that. And when you go get the report in the same website up in the upper nav, you can find the sponsor value incubator tab, and it'll bring you to a place where you can sign up to learn more information when we're ready to launch.
And I am for me being exhibitor and sponsor focused, I am all over this one. I can't wait. So are you looking to do that yet this year, or will that not be until 22?
That is a good question. We've actually not set a date because we're at the beginning of just kind of massively getting everything in a row. So, part of what we want to do is take the best of the virtual networking incubator and also figure out what we could do even better and change it. So this time there's some changes compared to the virtual networking incubator. We're going to have sponsors. We're going to sort of explore what it is to really be, partners with our sponsors. We're talking with media partners right now. So there's new and exciting elements that I can't wait to explore and then share out with the whole community.
That is so awesome. So, well, we will eagerly look forward to that. Alan is going to put up in the comments the link for your website, your blog, Smooth the Path. So I want to make sure that people can go find you that way, but they can also go to the networking incubator page and get all the great juicy details on the recaps of the incubator. But here is Amanda's link for Smooth the Path blog. So go check that out. Any final thoughts from you, Amanda, of, just what we should all keep in mind when it comes to networking?
Oh boy. It's even so you don't have to spend a lot of money to have a really great experience. You can do a lot of really interesting things on Zoom. And so I think it's more about if you've got the money, the platforms are great, but it's just a lot about thinking about the thought of how do we take a group of strangers and make them friends? How do we take people who are walking into this being, with a lot of trepidation and making them feel comfortable? How do we take people who may want to multitask and get them to fully participate and engage? So read the report. Jump out, come to me with any questions. If you have any questions you're thinking about for your next event, but just sort of, more kind of think about like that linear process of how do you get people, to feel, to sort of feel the feelings that you're hoping they feel, and you'll get there.
Well, and I love Eric's comment. Once you've nailed down a virtual platform, the fun is in finding innovative ways to stretch beyond its boundaries, like Amanda's fun interactive activities.
Right. Yay, Eric. Yes.
That's exactly it. Take the platform and run with it. I mean, don't be handicapped by what platform you're in. Find a way to make it work.
Right.
Amanda, thank you so much for being our guest on Virtual Lunch. I think this is very exciting what you've done, and it's very exciting what you've got coming up. So we wish you all the success and can't wait to see what happens next.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody, welcome and thank you for being here today. We will be back in 2 weeks with another guest expert, and we will see you then. But until then, have a great couple of weeks and much success to everyone. Bye.